With death again.
Oh, it says it's live.
Oh, we're live. Okay, we're good. Hi, everybody. Sorry about that. Said my internet connection wasn't good. Everything we checked said it was fine. So here we are. Hi, everybody. Hello,
Hey,
Cold,
everybody.
and maybe Miranda, but that was at 1 o'clock, so they might not be here. So hello, everybody. Welcome to Kaleidoscope of Crime. I tried to make a nice little intro, and when I learn how to get it from Canva onto YouTube, then we will have that. First step was just learning how to make the darn thing.
Yeah. Well, you put it in where it says clips on the StreamYard thing, and then you download it there. So.
Oh, is there Eclipse? I'll have to. Is that when you start creating the broadcast?
Well, no, it says it's like I gotta remember from. It says like brand
That's
or
okay.
something like that. I'll tell you after.
Oh, it's under brand? Okay.
Yeah.
So today we wanted to talk about. We're still doing our Highway of Tears coverage. We have two cases from the Highway of Tears today. We have oh, Immaculate, Basil, and her cousin Bonnie. I can't remember the last name.
It's okay. I'm trying to see. Hold on.
Oh, I don't have her stuff up anymore. I must have closed the wrong tabs. Uh, I've got it in my notes here. Where is it? Bonnie Joseph.
Yes. I was like, I know it's
And
a
then,
name.
and then we've also got a bonus case from Vancouver Island. It's quite a big case here in Canada. Lisa Marie Young. We're going to do just a short read up on her. I have a lot more on her to go through. I might do another episode, more thorough, deeper episode about Lisa Marie Young later. But she was a viewer request, and I wanted to try and get her in as soon as we can. Um, so we will be talking about her as well. And also, before we start, I had come across a little article called More People Go Missing in BC, and just kind of talking about why that is, and the statistics around that. And since the Highway of Tears is in British Columbia, if that's okay with PJ, I'd like to read that article before we start in on the cases.
Sure, that's fine because I have to grab my notebook, so I'll be listening.
Okay. Oops. So this is in the Capital Daily, and I forgot to scroll up before I started. Sorry. More people go missing in BC than anywhere else. This was May 5th of 2021, so it's a couple of years old, so the statistics might have changed a little bit, but I just thought this was a really interesting article that I wanted to share with everyone. More people go missing in BC than anywhere else in Canada, and no one knows why. Police don't track missing persons cases by race, but on Red Dress Day, a Vancouver Island Indigenous leader says that's not acceptable. That's a pretty picture. On October 16, 2017, Jordan Halling didn't show up for work. This was out of character. The 17-year-old was rarely even late for his shifts at the Campbell River A&W. The friends he had been with late the previous night hadn't heard from him all day. Later, he wouldn't meet up with his sister like he had planned to. By the evening, still no one had seen or heard from Jordan. A police report was filed, a missing person alert was sent out, and worry began to grow. Things were weird. It wasn't instantly a major worry. We were concerned, but we didn't know anything really crazy had happened other than he was missing and things didn't seem right. Morgan Halling, Jordan's dad, told Capital Daily. It just got worse from there. Halling knows that his son left his friend's apartment on 16th Avenue sometime after 1 a.m. to walk the short distance home. He was last seen on surveillance footage near Highway 19 and 14th Avenue. His skateboard was found in the area, but there has been no sign of Jordan. It's been 3 years since Jordan's disappearance, and in that time there has been little progress on his case and even fewer answers. Each year, BC sees a disproportionately high number of missing person cases, with nearly double the number reported in the next closest province, Ontario, which has nearly triple its population. Across the country, the majority of missing persons cases are resolved within days to a week, but some, like Jordan's, remain unsolved for years. And while missing persons cases in BC continue to eclipse the national average, there is no clear consensus on why that is. So many unknowns. BC recorded 12,400 missing persons cases involving adults in 2020, more than 40% of the country's 29,645 cases. The same year, there were 5,870 cases of missing children in BC, the third largest number in the country behind Ontario and Manitoba. Over the past 5 years, these statistics from the National Centre for Missing Persons and Unidentified Remains have been fairly consistent for adults. For children, the numbers have dropped by more than 1,600 since 2015. Well, that's a good statistic. BC RCMP Communications Officer for the Island District Corporal Chris Manso says there is no clear reason why BC has such high numbers of missing people compared to other provinces. But he believes the province's topography could be a contributing factor. Lots of lakes, forests, mountains, and the ocean. If someone goes missing, it can sometimes be hard to even decide where to start searching. There are so many factors when it comes to missing people. People want to pick up and leave and just want to start new lives. People who just want to get lost. Whether they want to commit self-harm or leave a situation, he said. So missing people, it's a difficult thing to really put a finger on the pulse of, for sure. Data from the National Centre for Missing Persons and Unidentified Remains does not help to paint a clearer picture. The reason for the vast majority of missing people in BC in 2020, about 70% of the 12,400 missing persons cases, is listed as unknown. The second most common reason, accounting for about 12% of cases, is marked other, which is almost the same thing, I would think. The data is compiled from missing person transactions in the Canadian Police Information Centre. However, the National Centre says data is not always consistently completed nor maintained by agencies, leading to gaps. The last 18% of recorded cases are largely split between runaway and wandered off. A final small percentage is due to abduction or an accident, or the subject has been presumed dead. There was one female listed as a victim of human trafficking in 2020. According to the National Center for Missing Persons and Unidentified Remains, 61% of missing adults reported in 2020 were removed within 24 hours and 89% were removed within a week. In a 2019 article, Star Vancouver reported 2,500 people have gone missing and stayed missing in BC since records started being kept decades ago. Across the country, this number is approximately 7,000. Manso said a common misconception is that someone can only be declared missing if 24 hours have passed with no contact. This is not true. Missing persons should be reported as soon as possible. The first 72 hours after a person goes missing is the most critical. The more time that passes, the more evidence is lost, and if the person is in danger, time is everything. BC search and rescue teams are often called in to help RCMP with searches involving remote or dangerous territory. In 2020, the organizations noted a big increase in calls compared to previous years, largely due to the pandemic pushing more people to explore the outdoors. BC ground search and rescue teams were called out a record 1,959 times, a 25% increase over the annual average of 1,500 calls. While not all of these calls were responding to missing people, the higher number did push teams to their limits. President and Search Manager of the Cowichan Search and Rescue, Jamie Tudway-Keynes, told Capital Daily their team responded to 52 calls in 2020, an increase from about 45 the year before. While not a big increase, Tudway-Keynes says the numbers go up every year. When he started 10 years ago, the team was averaging 25 calls a year. And they said 1,959 in 2020. So that's a big difference. He says they're searching for more and more people who get lost in the wilderness because they were relying too much on technology. Sometimes the battery on their phone or navigation system dies or they lose cell service. There is no common reason for a rescue, Tudway-Keynes said. Whether somebody falls off a cliff or somebody falls in the river, there's no rhyme or reason for the rescues. Tudway-Keynes says in the 10 years he's been with the team, the subject of his team's searches has always been found, though sometimes it's not the outcome they were hoping for. The statistics show that it is much more rare that a missing person remains undiscovered, but it does happen. Some in BC RCMP's missing persons system have been presumed dead based on the circumstances of their disappearance. But Manso says if a body is never recovered, the person will remain in the system indefinitely as a missing person. In some cases, bodies are found but are not matched with a missing person. The BC Coroner Service currently has the unidentified remains of 19 different people found on Vancouver Island listed on an interactive map. And 17 of them are men. That's interesting. Are you still there, CJ? PJ, sorry? Am I still on?
I'm here. I'm
Okay.
listening.
Okay, I'm still on? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Oops, I went to the wrong one now. There we go.
We're fine. I'm paying attention.
Okay. It's getting long. I'm just gonna probably... Oh, yes, this was something I wanted to cover for sure. This is also by viewer request. So in early April, a video circulating social media showed two individuals holding branches making their way to three red dresses hanging in trees on the side of the Old Island Highway near Oyster Bay. One uses a branch to unhook a dress and fling it into the trees. The other jumps up to grab the hem of another dress, then ducks behind a bush to discard it. When Stephanie Ellicus Rivers saw the video for the first time, it sent chills down her spine. It made her angry, and then it reduced her to tears. Ellicus Rivers is from the Wikwemikun First Nation in northern Ontario, but lives in Campbell River. She has been a driving force behind a project to hang 100 red dresses across the island, and has been personally hanging dozens of dresses along the highways from Victoria to Port Hardy. In our culture, red is the only color spirits see, she said, so we hang red or wear red so the spirits can see us, and we hang the red dresses so we can call the missing women home. This is a movement that is deeply personal to the Campbell River woman. Ellicus River's sister-in-law was killed in 1992, followed by her close friend and niece. And she herself was almost abducted when she was 14 years old and had to fight her way out of a vehicle. So when she saw how the red dresses were tossed aside like trash, Ellicus Rivers was understandably upset, but it also solidified her mission. For years, she has sought out families of Indigenous missing persons across Canada and has sat down to listen to and record their stories. Through this process, she has begun to compile her own data on MMIWG. She says having this data is a way to start working towards change and advocate for the missing sisters. First Nations people are on the back burner, and the missing and murdered Indigenous women of Canada, we have to speak for them, she said. They're silenced, they're gone, they're missing, and we need to speak for them. It's unclear how many Indigenous women and girls have gone missing or have been murdered across Canada, let alone on Vancouver Island, because accurate data just doesn't exist. In fact, there is no reliable estimate of the numbers of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and 2S LGBTQIA persons in Canada, according to the final report of the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. In the most recent available RCMP data as of April 2015, there were 174 Indigenous women and girls who were missing for 30 days or longer, which is 10% of the 1,750 missing women and girls that were reported. But there is no national strategy to collect and share this information. And even if data were collected, the National Inquiry also states that thousands of disappearances have likely gone unreported over the decades based on the number of people who shared their stories for the first time for the National Inquiry. In BC, RCMP do not collect race-based data, so the province does not have its own statistics on how many Indigenous people go missing every year. We're promoting bias-free policing, so we don't track things by race, Manso said. So if somebody goes missing, no matter their nationality, faith, color, it doesn't get added onto the file. However, Judith Sayers, president of the Nuchilnuth Tribal Council, says this data is essential. We need to know how big the problem is. How many of our women have gone missing, she said. Unless we have actual statistics to bring to the RCMP's attention, the government's attention, they're not going to want to do anything. The Nuchilnuth Tribal Council has begun keeping its own records, which show 53 murdered women and 2 missing. But Sayers says it's unrealistic for every nation to do this simply because of the amount of time and resources it takes. But with or without this data, she says, it's also crucial that governments take action to address core issues at the First Nation level. She says many nations don't have enough housing or adequate daycare or work. So some women leave, but leaving can sometimes lead them to a more vulnerable situation. And this goes on and on and on. I think that's enough.
Yeah, there's a lot of information. Mel asked if you could send her that article.
I sure can after the stream.
Yeah, because that's a lot of good information. I mean,
And
because
actually, here I see as I'm scrolling down, Lisa Marie Young, who we were going to cover
yeah,
later on, so I might as well read that part.
yeah,
Oh, I didn't realize that. May 5th is her birthday. That's my son's birthday. And that is
wow.
also Red Dress Day here in Canada.
Oh wow, it's Red Dress Day. Interesting.
Yeah, so earlier in the article, I'm going to take a break from reading and just talk about this for a second.
Okay.
So earlier on in the article, they mentioned that how do I stop sharing? There we go, okay. That the only color that the spirits can see is red. So I believe it was 2007, I'm not sure. There was a lady that decided to, she's an indigenous artist, and as an art installment, she decided to start hanging red dresses outside to call the spirits home. And that has become a movement across the entire country, and it has also become a National Red Dress Day on May 5th of every year.
That's pretty cool. I like that how they did that.
Yes, so I actually have a red dress that I do hang out every May 5th. Nobody can see it, but that's okay.
I hate it when they don't have pictures like yeah.
Hi, Chris. Hi,
Hi, Grandma
Grandma.
Sherry.
Sherry and, oh no, Grand Bun Sherry. That's a different Sherry.
No, that's the same Sherry. She just changed her name. for for Easter, she changed her name for Easter.
Oh, yeah, got me, Grandma Sherry. And I love your little bunny icon, by the way. That's adorable.
Yeah, it is.
Still Grandma Sherry, Grand Bun Sherry. I like that too. Um, so that is one of the movements we have. We had talked before also about the Truth and Reconciliation Day on September 10th, which is for the uh, remembrance of the children who were lost in the residential schools.
Yeah.
So those are two awareness days that we have in Canada for Indigenous issues. So that was something I'd wanted to touch on because it had come up in the article, that
Mhm.
red dress movement. So that's where you see the pictures all over the internet of dresses hanging in the trees. Is that lady started the art installment of hanging up dresses, and then it just spread across the country, and now every May 5th, people are encouraged to hang out red dresses.
Yeah, and then they have the red hand, right?
Yep, and that is kind of an extension out of that, and that is basically to say that they won't be silenced anymore and that the spirits will hear their cries, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
I get it.
Um, I will go back to that article.
We're going to talk about what Lisa Marie Young, right?
Yeah, because she came up in the article, so we'll do her first.
Okay.
And then I've got another thing about her as well that I want to share.
All right.
Okay. Lisa Marie Young. May 5th would have been Lisa Marie Young's 40th birthday. For Carol Ann Bosma, this date comes with the knowledge of all the things that she has missed out on celebrating with her foster sister over the past 19 years. Remembering this article is a couple of years ago. If she was here because she's the oldest, I would be making fun of her, Bosma said. It brought me to a place of kind of being really sad, in a sense of like, I can't, go buy Depends diapers or something funny, you know what I mean? Bosma met Young just after her 16th birthday when she moved into Lisa's foster home. They lived together for about 3 years, but the pair, along with their third foster sister, remained close even after they aged out of the system. Bosma describes Young as confident and someone who always owned her own space, even as a teenager. Young disappeared on June 30th, 2002. The 21-year-old Indigenous woman had been at a house party with friends when she got into the vehicle of a man she had just met to get something to eat. She hasn't been seen since. Young's biological parents realized something was wrong that morning when she wasn't answering her phone. Young's foster parents were called, followed by Young's friends. No one knew where she was. It was a bit of a shock, fear, because one thing about Lisa was that she was very reliable, Bosma said. The last time Bosma talked to her, she remembers Young had been discussing her upcoming move into a new apartment. She was excited, and friends and family were coming to help her. She would not have left them hanging. And this is a picture of a very beautiful young lady. A friend of both Bosma and Young, Cindy Hall, remembers the shock of the day all those years later. Since Young's disappearance, Bosma and Hall have both become advocates for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. Hall says she also helps families who have had a loved one go missing. She puts up posters, posts in Facebook groups, and helps families who need guidance. Hall says the families are often overwhelmed and sad. Sometimes the families feel frustrated with the investigation process, she says, especially when the subject of the case is Indigenous. When Young's mother first filed a missing persons report in 2002, she didn't initially tell the RCMP that her daughter was Indigenous. Bosma said she had been afraid that racist stereotypes would come into play and her daughter's case would not be taken seriously. Ultimately, the case was not properly investigated anyway, Hall said. When Lisa first went missing, I really think the RCMP dropped the ball, she said. I do think for quite a few years the file wasn't investigated as much as it could have been. And then this goes in to talk about a podcast series that was done about Lisa Marie Young's disappearance by journalist Laura Palmer. It's called Island Crime. I'm currently listening to it again. It is very thorough, very in-depth, very professionally done. So if anybody wants to go really deep on Lisa Marie Young, that's a really great place to. She talked to absolutely everyone that ever met Lisa.
Oh, wow.
And she talked, that was still living, and she also talked to a lot of the people who have come up in the various theories surrounding Lisa's disappearance. So basically, persons of interest.
Oh, so they kind of did their own little investigation.
Yeah, well, she's an investigative reporter originally, and she's retired to Vancouver Island and then started this podcast called Island Crime. I think she's in season 3 now. Lisa Marie Young was her first season, and I believe it's 13 or 14 episodes that she did, and she talked to everybody. And she explored every theory and investigated every avenue possible. So it's
Interesting.
a really good podcast. And so then we'll go to, oops,
I wonder if you found the same article I did. Oh, no.
this is on Native Women's Association of Canada. Storytelling, Lisa's story. And that's just a little explanation of what this is. So, for years, communities have pointed to the high number of missing and murdered Aboriginal women and girls in Canada. The Native Women's Association of Canada has been honored to work with families of missing and murdered Aboriginal women and girls to share the stories of their loved ones. As part of the storytelling process, families are also invited to share their experiences with the justice system, media, victim services, and other institutional and community supports. And so that's what this is, and here is Lisa's story down here. Lisa Marie Young was 21 years old when she disappeared on June 30th, 2002 in Nanaimo, British Columbia. Lisa is the daughter of Don and Joanne Young, the granddaughter of Cecilia Arnett, and sister to younger brothers Brian and Robbie. She is loved by her large extended family and many close friends. In the years since Lisa disappeared, family members have covered Vancouver Island with missing persons posters. They have followed leads, consulted psychics, held vigils, and talked to countless members of the media. They want us to know that Lisa Marie is beautiful and fiery, talented and caring. They remember her. They love her. Not a single day goes by that they do not think about Lisa Marie Young or what could have happened to her. Lisa Marie Young was born on May 5th, 1981, in Nanaimo, a healthy and beautiful baby with long eyelashes. Her hair was dark and kind of curly, like her father's. She was just awesome, says Lisa's mother, Joanne. Lisa Marie was the first child for Joanne and Don and the second grandchild for Joanne's mother, Cecilia. Joanne was 18 years old when Lisa was born. The pregnancy was really nice, she remembers. I knew the baby was going to be a girl because she hardly ever kicked. Lisa was a tiny baby, and Joanne barely showed at all. Family members joked that Joanne would be able to wear her old jeans right away. While pregnant with Lisa Marie, Joanne walked a lot and enjoyed healthy food. Her diet was mainly vegetarian. Cecilia fell in love with her new granddaughter immediately. She was a beautiful little angel. She looked just like her mother, she says. Cecilia can still picture Lisa as an infant, can still smell her, baby smell. Remembering her own childhood, Cecilia made sure her grandchildren were loved and cared for. Both Cecilia and Joanne's father attended Kakawis Residential School on Mears Island. Cecilia was 9 years old when the Indian agent took her to the school. It was really bad, scary, lonely, she says simply. She attended the school for 7 years. Thankfully, Cecilia's time at residential school did not affect her experience as a mother. Cecilia loved being a mother, loved every minute of it. She treasured her children and, later, her grandchildren. Okay, Pippin, I can't talk into the mic when you get in front of it. Can you please stop?
The cat or dog?
The dog.
No.
Lisa grew up in Nanaimo. I hope you don't hear that because he sniffed in the microphone.
No, I don't hear it.
Okay. Lisa grew up in Nanaimo. Dawn and Joanne had a two-bedroom apartment with a crib in the second bedroom, but Lisa always slept with Joanne and Dawn in their king-sized bed, nestled against Joanne's chest. The two would often nap together. Cecilia remembers Lisa as a quiet baby, but Joanne says her daughter was actually very vocal. Lisa Marie started crawling when she was 5 months old. 2 months later, she was walking. Wow. In a hurry to get on the move, she was. When I told people, okay, get your nose out of my mouth. When I told people, I love you, Pippin, I do. When I told people that Lisa was walking at 7 months, everybody thought I was lying, Joanne remarks, but she was always a really determined girl, ever since she was a baby. Lisa was a sweet toddler and very, very gentle. Cecilia remembers watching Lisa open gifts at Christmas time. Most kids just tear their presents open, but not Lisa. We were all saying, "Hurry up, just open it," remembers Cecilia, laughing. But no, she was always so gentle when she opened up her presents. She was so good. That sounds like me, actually. Cecilia moved up island when Lisa was about 2, but came back to Nanaimo every summer to visit. She would take Lisa out for lunch or shopping, just the two of them. Recalling those outings, Cecilia says her granddaughter never demanded anything. Instead, it was Cecilia who had to coax and say, "Well, Lisa, get something for yourself." Lisa adored her younger brothers, Brian and Robbie, and was very protective. When the family had photos taken, the photographer never had to say, "Put your arm around your brothers." She was already doing that. That's just adorable to picture, you know?
Yeah, I like when they give little stories, so you can kind of
Yeah, and there's a lot in here, and there's even more in the podcast. Lisa would take her brothers to pick wild blueberries for pancakes. They often had picnic lunches together on the deck. Lisa liked to play dress up with her brothers. She used to dress them up like little girls, giggles Joanne. They didn't really like it, but they did it. It was cute. Still, Lisa's tenacious nature led a family friend to nickname her Bossy Lisa. Thinking back, Joanne cannot help but laugh. She was kind of bossy, she admits. From the time she was small, Lisa was a real girly girl. She favored pretty clothing, pink headbands, and painted nails. In the podcast, they said she always had glitter on her nails. When she got her first bike at 4 years old, it was a pink one with streamers on the handlebars. She loved beadwork and glitter, anything that sparkled. As a toddler, Lisa would walk around with cute little bags of beadwork and sparkly glitter pens. I still have sparkly glitter pens. Oh, pins. Oops, I read that wrong.
it's okay.
And as she grew, so did her creative nature. She was always making or beating something. Lisa was also very caring. She was just a toddler when she became a vegetarian. Wading in the shallow ocean water of an island park, Lisa saw some tiny little fish. "What are those, Dad?" she asked. Don decided to tease her a bit. "They're little fish. They're going to bite your bum," he said seriously. Well, Lisa never ate fish or meat again. Joanne remembers her daughter's first day of school clearly. Lisa was not scared at all. Wearing a cute little white jogging outfit, she went running right into the school ground. "She just left me in the dust," laughs Joanne. Lisa Marie really enjoyed elementary school. It did not matter what the class was doing, she put her all into it. She especially loved field trips. Joanne remembers how excited Lisa was about a class trip to plant cedar and other trees. As she got older, Lisa became more involved in school activities. Where was I? Joanne says that Lisa was kind of like an ambassador for the school. On parent night, she had to meet everyone and show them around. She also volunteered to be a crosswalk guard, which led to something unexpected. As a school volunteer, 12-year-old Lisa won a contest to spend a night in Vancouver and fly in a helicopter. Ooh, that does sound exciting. A story about the contest appeared in the local paper along with a cartoon picture of Lisa. Lisa was not yet a teenager, but Joanne could already see her daughter turning into a young woman. She had really long, beautiful hair and was very feminine. Lisa always loved sports, especially basketball. In grade 8, she joined the school basketball team, and the family had a great time watching her games. When Lisa decided to try out in high school, Joanne and Dawn were really excited for her. They were surprised when Lisa came home in tears because she did not make the team. Joanne remembers her daughter feeling quite devastated, but nothing could get Lisa down for long. Joanne says that she and Dawn are very stubborn and their daughter is no different. Lisa is a Taurus and very fiery. She would never argue for the sake of arguing, but if she believed she was right, she would not back down. Not one bit. Joanne really admires the way her daughter always stood up for herself. Lisa had a really strong sense of self, and Joanne and Dawn respected and encouraged her independence. In her high school years, Lisa volunteered with the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Culture as a day camp leader. It was a great experience, and when she applied for her first job at McDonald's, she was hired right away. Lisa liked working with people. She was a definite people person. She was constantly on the phone with her friends. If they had a problem or needed someone to talk to, they called Lisa. She was always there to say, "It's okay. Don't worry about it." Lisa was forever busy, off meeting friends for coffee, on the waterfront, water skiing, or dancing. She also loved to rollerblade and walk at Swayalana Lagoon. It was her favorite place in Nanaimo. But even with so much going on in her life, Lisa always made time for her brothers. She was never too busy to take them out to lunch or bother them about finishing their homework. As a teenager and later as an adult, Lisa remained a girly girl. She dressed up for everything, whether she was going for a walk in the park, a night on the town, or just out for coffee. Taking the bus downtown for work, Lisa would often pass the time applying or reapplying makeup. People thought she was silly, says Joanne, but Lisa would just laugh and say, "Well, I'm bored." Lisa was very athletic, but she also loved music and art. She enjoyed writing and painted using watercolors. She used her face and hair like canvas. In her teenage years, she experimented with short hair, colored blonde, and kind of curly. Later, she grew her hair long and dyed it a dramatic black. "It took me forever to get used to," laughs Joanne. Lisa Marie Young was last seen in the early morning hours of June 30th, 2002. Lisa was downtown with friends to celebrate a birthday when someone in the group struck up a conversation with a young man driving an older model red Jaguar. No one in the group knew him, but he seemed friendly and offered Lisa and her friend a ride to a house party. A few hours later, when Lisa said she was hungry, the driver offered to take her to get some food. They left together in his red Jaguar. She has not been seen since. Lisa Marie was just 21 years old when she disappeared. She was in the process of moving to a new apartment and was set to start a new job 2 days later. She talked about going back to school to become TV sports announcer. Lisa was a vivacious young woman. She had no reason to disappear. Joanne and Dawn spent most of June 30th, 2002 calling Lisa's cell phone. It wasn't like her not to answer, but they knew she was getting ready to move and thought maybe she was just really busy. But late that afternoon, their daughter's former roommate came looking for Lisa. She said that Lisa had not moved any of her things. That's when we got really worried, says Joanne. Joanne went to Lisa's apartment and found her daughter's black book with all her phone numbers. She called every number in the book. No one had seen or talked to Lisa since the night before. Frantic, Joanne and Dawn decided to call the police. They knew something was wrong, yet the officer who took the call seemed unconcerned. He said, "She's only been missing a short time, and that I'd have to call back in 48 hours. And when I hear that, after just reading an article where the police are saying it is a common misconception of people that you have to wait 24 hours, but you shouldn't, you should report right away."
Right. And then they have to wait, what, they said 48 hours?
And then here, the exact same police organization is telling them they have to wait 48 hours.
Yeah.
So who has the misconception? Is it the public or the police?
Right. It's a little contradicting.
Yeah, very. After just reading that other article where he said, "Don't wait, call right away."
Right.
But yet, how often do we hear this in cases where it's the police who put the delay on there?
Yeah.
She's only been missing a short time, and I should call back in 48 hours, remembers Joanne. But Joanne refused to wait. She contacted her mother, and soon a whole group of family members were searching up and down the coast from Coombs to Tofino. "We didn't know what to do, but we couldn't just sit there. We had to do something," says Joanne. Lisa's friends joined the search as well. Finally, late that evening, a police officer was sent to Joanne and Dawn's house. He asked some questions and took a photograph of Lisa. Then he told them, and this part really boils my blood. Then he told them that he was off for the next 4 days and to call him on Friday. Joanne and Dawn were incredulous. Well, yeah,
So
this
wait,
was on a, yeah, wait 4 more days.
what? So that's like a week.
It sounds like the detective did go out there the same day, but then because the family was going out doing it themselves, so then the police came, got her name and her photograph, and then says, "Oh well, I'll be gone for 4 days. Call me on Friday."
Right. That's doesn't make
Our
sense.
daughter was missing. We couldn't wait long. Joanne and Dawn were up all night trying to figure out what to do. Eventually, they decided to contact the local news media. A report A reporter came over right away, and the next day Lisa's disappearance was all over the news. A few days later, police told Joanne and Dawn that the RCMP's Serious Crimes Unit was investigating Lisa's case. "That's when we knew it was really bad," says Joanne quietly. The police conducted their first land search for Lisa in September of 2002. She went missing on June 30th. 2 months after she disappeared, and have since identified the driver of the red Jaguar. No charges have been laid, though police have said they consider him a person of interest. Police have also said they believe Lisa met with foul play. There are various theories about what happened to Lisa, and her parents still have a lot of questions about the man driving the red Jaguar. "We always have hope," Joanne remarks, "but sometimes you think about what you might have to deal with one day." Thinking back on the journey since Lisa went missing, Joanne raises several issues about the police. She talks about the officer who came to the house after Lisa disappeared. He had an attitude of, "What am I doing here?" It was like my daughter didn't matter, she said. It was like my daughter wasn't important, she states. Joanne says that in the days and weeks following Lisa's disappearance, police support consisted of giving the family advice or making suggestions that were not practical or helpful to the family's situation. Joanne says that the police do not share a lot of information, which is difficult. Feeling as though they were not getting answers from the RCMP, the family had done a lot of searching on their own, contacting Lisa's friends and talking to people in the community and surrounding areas. While Joanne acknowledges that police have shared some information, she also feels as though they have not always been truthful. She says that they would hear one thing from the police only to be told something different from Lisa's friends or other people in the community. And it's interesting that in that scenario they believe the friends over the police.
Right. That's weird.
For years, Joanne asked the police to work with Crime Stoppers to film a reenactment of Lisa's disappearance. They resisted, saying Joanne was already doing a great job of keeping Lisa's story out there. What?
What?
Okay, that makes me mad. Frustrated, she decided to get in touch with a local reporter about the trouble she was having. She says the police told the reporter that they no longer did Crime Stopper reenactment videos, something that she knew to be untrue. Joanne decided to contact Crime Stoppers directly.
Oh,
She
jeez.
was told yes, they still did reenactment videos, but that one of the detectives on the case had to initiate it. The police lied right to the reporter. Okay, now I can see why she believes the friends and community over the police. I don't understand it. Why would they lie? Finally, in May 2009, the Nanaimo RCMP released a Crime Stoppers reenactment of the night Lisa went missing. After so many years, Joanne hopes the segment, so May 2009, so that is 7 years after she disappeared.
Wow, 7 years it took?
To get a Crime Stoppers reenactment, yep. And basically says Joanne's hopeful it will get them new information, which apparently it hasn't. Joanne also raises concerns about communication with police. The only time we hear from them is when we call them, she says. In the summer of 2009, unidentified human remains were found in an area north of Nanaimo. Although police promised to warn the family if something like this were to happen, the family found out through a journalist who called to tell them that a story on the discovery would be airing that night. The media really speculated. They said it might be Lisa, says Joanne. The family did not know what to think. They hardly got any sleep that night. Finally, days later, they got a call from the police. They said that it was a courtesy call to let them know that the remains were not Lisa. Courtesy?
Wouldn't they just call just because?
You would think that would be an automatic part of the investigation, would it not?
Right.
How is that a courtesy? And especially to wait so long and not warn the family ahead of time.
Right.
Nothing
Hmm.
courteous about that.
Strange.
Joanne says it has been mainly the same detectives working on Lisa's case, although there have been some changes. Reassignments are always difficult. You get to know and trust someone, she explains, and suddenly there's someone else involved, and they may seem less personable or willing to talk to you. Or they say the same thing over and over. There are no new developments. It is frustrating, particularly because the police rarely contact the family anymore. Still, the RCMP maintains the investigation remains active, and despite everything, Joanne believes that many of the officers have their heart in finding Lisa. One of the detectives in the serious crime unit has her picture by his desk. I can't say it's all bad, Joanne concludes. Joanne finds talking to strangers difficult. She is never sure what sort of response she is going to get. After Lisa disappeared, the police connected the family with victim services. It was not a good experience. The worker began the meeting by saying, most couples don't survive a marriage after the loss of a child. Oh boy.
That does happen in some situations, but they don't know if the child's lost yet. Like, she's
Well,
missing.
and just for that to be the first thing you say to them,
Right. That's kind of
shouldn't
weird.
it be something more along the lines of, let's see what we can do to help the two of you work through this together?
Right, so you can heal together and
Yeah,
very weird.
she had a cross on her necklace and kept saying God bless and things like that. But that's not a part of our beliefs. Okay, that I can relate to. Joanne and Dawn were taken aback, then angry. There wasn't a lot of support from that, comments Joanne dryly. Indeed, the family finds the greatest support and strength in each other. Joanne and Cecilia, and I do think that there should be more culturally sensitive training, and hopefully there is now. But definitely, I think there needs to be some training included in that
Some empathy.
respects, yeah, that respects the cultures and the beliefs of the people that you're dealing with, and helps them
Yeah.
find resources that are more suited to their culture and their beliefs. Um, In contrast to their experience with victim services, the family has had plenty of support from the community, good things, and people they never imagined would be on the journey with them. Much of this is due to Joanne's determination. The family has planned several candlelight vigils for Lisa, remembering how much her daughter loved beadwork when she was little. Joanne contacted the youth group at the Tillicum House Native Friendship Center to see if they could help by making beaded bracelets to give out at one of the vigils. They made a whole basketful, each one unique. The family also received community support for a billboard with Lisa's picture on it. The billboard was Joanne's idea. She contacted lots of business people in Nanaimo, first to find a company that would make the billboard and then to find a place to put it. The billboard was downtown for about a year. It was an amazing display of support. The media has been another important ally. It was the media, not the police, that first drew attention to Lisa's disappearance. They were very supportive, says Joanne. They always have been. Since Lisa went missing, family members have talked to journalists from all over Vancouver Island. Joanne talks to anyone who will listen, determined to keep her daughter's story out there. But it has not always been easy. For a long time, Joanne refused to have her picture taken. I didn't want anyone to know that I was Native because of the way people judge. That's how I felt, she says. It is only in the last couple of years that she has agreed to go in front of a camera. She wants people to know that she is still looking for answers, that she is not going to forget. Somebody knows something, she says. Somebody knows what has happened to her daughter. Cecilia has been active in the search for Lisa as well. In August, that's Lisa's grandmother. In August of 2008, she joined Walk for Justice, a group of activists and family members that walked from Vancouver, BC to Ottawa, Ontario, calling for, I remember this, for a public inquiry into the unsolved disappearances and murders of women from across Canada. Cecilia was one of the oldest people on the walk. Wow, that is, wow. She wore a t-shirt with Lisa's picture on it and handed out posters on Parliament Hill. It was quite an experience, she says, and very emotional. Still, Cecilia is glad she did it. She felt a lot better after doing the walk. She just kept telling herself, I'm doing it for my granddaughter. Lisa always felt strongly about her independence. Having grown up in Nanaimo, she felt safe in the community, as though she knew everyone. She never thought anyone would harm her. Still, Lisa was practical. If she went downtown at night, she was always with a friend. But the night she went missing, Lisa was with friends. That is why Lisa's song is so important to Joanne. Lisa's song was written and recorded by artist Alison Crow, a friend of Lisa's since high school. It is an amazing song and very powerful. Joanne says listening to Lisa's song makes her feel strong. She hopes the song will remind people to keep themselves and their family members safe if they can. Oh my, this is long.
Yes, it is. A lot of information.
We've been on for an hour and we've only done one case.
It's okay. You're off Friday, so we can probably do the two others on my channel on Friday if you want.
Okay, we might have to do that.
Okay.
Joanne has been resolute in her efforts to find out what happened to her daughter. Like Lisa, Joanne is a fighter. If she knocked on one door, it was shut. She went to the next door. If one person said no, she moved on. Cecilia is very proud of her daughter. It is amazing how strong Joanne is, she says, how she keeps Lisa's name alive. In June 2009, Joanne held a candlelight vigil for Lisa Marie in Tofino, the West Coast community where Joanne was born. I wanted to bring her back to the place where I come from. My daughter belonged here. She was from here too, Joanne says. She wanted to bring Lisa home. That is sad. Lisa Marie Young is remembered as a beautiful and vibrant woman. She was a good listener to her friends and a protector to her brothers, always. And she was a fighter. She believed in herself, was strong-willed and confident enough to stand up and say, I'm right about this. Dawn's, Dawn and Joanne always felt like she was going in the right direction. My daughter wanted to shine, Joanne observes. No matter what she wanted to do, she would have been awesome. Lisa had a great sense of humor, too, says Joanne. All of her kids do, and she likes that in them. It is good to laugh sometimes. More than anything, the family wants to keep Lisa in people's minds. They do not want people to forget about Lisa Marie. They do not need to worry. We will not forget. Lisa Marie is shining brighter than ever.
Nice. I saw that they did a walk for Lisa as well.
Last year, yep. And also, Lisa Marie's mother, Joanne, has passed away.
Oh, wow.
And thank you for manning the chat for me.
Oh, no problem.
And
I
I
knew.
completely agree, Miranda. Miranda. Oh, I get it now. Oh. Miranda, got it. Those officers. Oh yeah, I can show that on the screen too. There we go. What else do we have? Oh, you guys could hear the dog. He wanted outside. Apparently, my husband just can't hear him as well as we do.
It's okay.
So we've been on an hour already. So I don't know. Do we want to stop it there and then pick it up on your channel next weekend? I mean next week.
Well, did you want to do the other two on Friday, or
On Friday, sure. Yeah, we can do that. Is everyone okay with that?
I don't know if everybody's still here or they're just listening. But yeah, I could probably do that around like 8ish, 7:30, 8ish.
Sure.
And then we can do the other two, and we can go back and forth
Well,
if
then we'll
we.
do the three. We'll do the three
Okay, that'll be good.
since they're all three from the same area, and
Yeah.
Bonnie Joseph and Cynthia. What was her name? Just a second here.
Well, you got Immaculate Basil, right?
Yeah, and then we've got. There was also Cynthia Martin and Bonnie Joseph. Immaculate Basil and Bonnie Joseph are cousins.
Oh, okay. So that makes sense.
And then Cynthia, what did I say her name was? Sorry, Cynthia Martin. She went missing from the same area as well. So,
All right.
and she was recently, well, not recently, either 2021 or last year. It might have been last year she was found.
She was found.
But very disappointingly, she was found in May. They announced it in August and said they would provide updates after the autopsy was done, and that was the last that was said was in August of last year.
Oh, so they
So
didn't say anything after that.
no, they didn't update with and that's disappointing. So that's one reason I would like to get her name out there again because they've had 7 months to do an autopsy and let people know. So
Right. Yeah, and
that's way too long.
then I'm gonna go through the list and kind of see, who we've covered, and then we can go over because there's a lot of the murder that we haven't covered.
We seem to always land on mostly the missing.
Yes, and
Also, there are some in that list that I wanted to talk to you about because some of them are clearly not tied to the Highway of Tears at all. It's just they're in a community near the highway.
Mhm.
Like there was a group of people killed in some sort of a fire.
Oh, okay.
Is the one that really sticks out in my brain, and I'm thinking, well, that doesn't really sound like it fits with Highway of Tears.
Right. Yeah, because
So
there's a long list, and I'm like, do they keep adding to this list or
I
what?
think so. I think so.
Because there's like, I swear, like we covered a bunch, and then like when I was going over the list tonight before we came on, while I was
Yeah,
watching the show, it seemed like the list got a little bit longer, and I was like, hold on, like we covered a lot. So, and it didn't seem like we even like
made a
stopped.
dent.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we've probably covered at least 20 cases,
Right.
and
And I think
yeah, when I go through the list, it's like, oh my gosh.
and there's 18 like main cases. So
Yeah. Now I can't remember. Is Robert Picton? Are his victims on that list?
I think so. 3 of the serial killers' names I did write down because I was going to do something. Who do we have?
We did Cody Ledjabakoff already.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about him, and then Blair Evan, Vernon Kyle.
Is that one name?
Vernon Kyle Wilson, and then another guy was Blair Evan Donnelly.
Okay, I haven't heard of those two. I should. Oh darn, I don't have my pen.
So I'll kind of look at it a little bit more because I think they're adding some things that they're finding out as they go along.
So
So
maybe I should do what I was thinking and print it off and just use that, and that way if they add more, oh well. No,
right, we won't get confused.
yeah.
But there is a lot, and there is like, because recently they have added, well, they haven't added to like the old stuff, but they have added some teen boys. But I haven't seen that list yet. But they said they have added some teen boys, but I just haven't seen that yet.
Oh, that's very interesting.
They said they were going to add them on to the list of
And
the
I
boys.
had found a different list, and most of them were white.
Oh, wow.
And they were highway tears cases apparently too.
That is interesting.
So,
It's awful, like because that's the area. It's a poor area, and a lot of people do, hitchhike to get where they need to go. And
yeah.
it's a lot of high risk, as they say, cases. So,
A lot of them are. Lisa Marie Young, she was in a different area, so, and she didn't lead a high risk lifestyle at all. She, so, but she was Indigenous, and so I thought we would include her.
oh no, that was fine. It was an interesting story, actually.
It is, and there's actually even more to it. I mean, you can go for days on that one.
Right.
Like I
No,
said, that was about 7 or 8 hours, that podcast. And then there's articles upon articles upon articles and other YouTube channels and podcasts for her. So there's a lot out there for her, but it still needs to stay out there. And, and there are still people looking for her and advocating for her. Obviously, they did the vigil last year.
yeah.
Oh, I agree, Grandma.
Cool.
I agree.
Yeah, that's true, Sherry. It is really, really hard. Um, in my city, we're having stabbings and shootings and whatever else like every week. So I get it. I really do get it.
yeah. And even where I live rurally, I'm nowhere near town. And yet, just down the road last year was that big stabbing at the reserve. So,
it's awful. It's a different world. So
and
it's
that's very true, Grandma. And the thing is it's when you're First Nations, you are not safe from white people. You're not safe from fellow Indigenous people. I think our coverage of Nathan chasing his horse kind of proves that.
right. Yeah, I've been following that too, trying to see if there's any updates. Like, it
Yeah,
hasn't
I
been.
haven't. I looked yesterday and I hadn't seen anything new. I just kept getting the same old articles up.
Yeah.
Did you find anything else?
No, not yet. So I keep looking to see because I'm thinking that like something more are probably going to come out eventually. So,
You would think so, yeah. That sounds like there's going to be a lot of victims, but the thing
yeah,
is how many will feel safe to speak up?
right. Just because the community and if they're on reservations and if they feel safe. So, I mean,
Well, and
maybe
indigenous people naturally do not trust police for good reason.
right.
So to go to the and Nathan chasing his horse case kind of proves it because the allegations started coming out in 2005
Hmm.
and they're only just now starting to charge him in 2023.
Right.
That's nearly 20 years later.
Yeah.
Victims were going to the police all the way back in 2005
Mm.
and being told things like, well, you didn't say no, so it was consensual.
Right.
The fact that he was holding her down and she was crying the whole time
Yeah. That's just.
apparently did not indicate a lack of consent.
Mm. It's insane. The whole thing is.
It is. And yeah, it just makes me so upset.
No, I get it.
And my heart goes out to every victim. It really does.
Yes.
And no victim should hear that. I've heard it. I know how that feels. It's not okay.
Right. I get it.
They just compound the trauma on top of the trauma. As it is, recounting your story to police is very hard and very traumatizing.
Yeah.
And then to be met with something like that is just no. That just
Yeah.
makes it so much worse.
True.
So, hearts out to all victims and to the families of the missing, especially as well.
Yes, because they're
Lisa
victims.
Murray's family and friends have been searching since 2002, so that is almost 21 years we're coming up to.
Mm.
That is way too long
Yeah, it is.
to be without answers. And her mother has passed, not finding her, which is absolutely tragic.
Right.
If anybody listens to the podcast, they actually, her mother had passed just a few months before, so they were talking to the dad, which that was the first time he had really done that.
Yeah.
And you could hear it in his voice, even though it was just a podcast and you can't see him. You could hear the pain and the love, the absolute love.
Jeez.
Okay, so I think we're going to end it there.
Mm.
Thank you, Grandbun Sherry.
Thank you, everybody. It will be
And
on my
Cold, if you're
channel
still
Friday.
here, I don't know if anyone else, me, Rhonda, and Chris, we're all here. Thank you to all of you guys. I appreciate everyone that comes in.
And have a good
And
night,
my
guys.
BFF that says every show that she will be here and never shows up, I'm going to go give her a heck.
And I'll see you guys tomorrow. You have a good night.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.